Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Digital Nomad World weekly series. I'm Becky, and once again, I'm going to be your host. And today we're talking with Stephanie Maeder about something that you'll never guess. You're never going to guess what she does while working remotely. Stephanie, welcome to the show.
Hi, Becky. Good to see you. And hi, everyone. Nice to meet you.
It is great to see you again. We actually just met a few weeks ago, and you started sharing your story, which we're going to share in just a moment. And I was so excited to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to share because who knows, there might be other people that are interested in this kind of
Yes,
activities out there.
absolutely. There's a whole lot to do while you're working remotely, and you have a lot more
There is.
opportunities. So, first of all, can you tell us about your background and where you're living right now, and the different places that you're working?
Okay. I'm Stephanie. As you said, I'm a digital solutions consulting in the logistics industry, and I currently live in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates, and I'm an avid off-roader and traveler in this area. Really enjoyed getting to know the Middle East. I've been here for 3.5 years now.
Oh, so are you working like in an office there? Do you work remotely
Yes.
100% of the time? And are you
Um,
sometimes at other offices? I'm not sure.
So I work for an international company and I have the option to go to the office, which I like to do at least 2 to 3 times a week because I get lonely at home. So I really like to catch up with people. And obviously, as a consultant, you need to know what's going on with customers. And yeah, whenever I'm asked abroad, I also go there and we have offices everywhere. So we can theoretically work from different offices, but we do have focal markets, so to say.
Okay, but you're mostly based right now in
Yeah.
Dubai, but you're able to work remotely. That is so cool. So, how like did you get into Dubai? Like, what made you move there, and what is it like to live there?
So I'm I the last before Dubai, I lived in Hamburg in Germany, and I was ready to move again. And I had been looking around. I was thinking maybe Belgium or the Netherlands or like Japan because I've been there in the past. And then the company was like, "We need someone like you in Middle East and Africa on the regional role. Would you be interested?" And I was like, "I don't know anything about it. Let me research. How much can I do zero waste in Dubai? How much can I cycle?" And well, what I found was good enough that I decided, yes, I will do the move. I really wanted to work with the manager because they were really focusing on gender neutral speaks. And I was like, I can learn a lot from this person. So I moved over and it's been an up and down journey. I think moving abroad always is. So I feel like I've really found my place now. Such a my mysterious hobby as well. And I've really come to love the generosity of the Arabs, the diversity. It's the most international city I've ever lived in. So you can also all find people of your group. And the nature in the Middle East, I mean, it's very different from Europe, but you learn how to enjoy like the small things. And yeah, I'm spending 9 months a year outside. So what can I want more, you know?
Yeah, I'm really curious about the what kind of things can you do like in nature in Dubai? Because I think a lot of people think of it as like this city full of skyscrapers in the middle of the desert. And they're like, what nature could there be?
And this is also true. Like, in every stereotype, there's a kernel of truth. And obviously, Dubai has that side. If you want to just be like live on the 45th floor and go party every day, you can do that. But this has never been my Dubai. And honestly, I would probably rather say I live in the UAE. I think the closest, so I live 10 minutes from the desert because I live in the outskirts and I go multiple times a week. I go off-roading in the dunes. I go camping in the dunes. You can wild camp anywhere. The closest mountains are an hour away. There's rock climbing, there's hiking, there's what's it called? Bicycle, off-road bicycle, mountain
Ah,
cross
mountain
biking,
biking
mountain
or
biking, these kind of things. And
desert hiking.
especially
Yeah.
that. And especially since COVID, the country has invested a lot in like these outdoor activities because back then, until then, a lot of people were like, "Oh, great, Dubai is a hub. I go everywhere else." And then they started exploring the country, and they're still building up a lot of things. And obviously, the water sports. I mean, I live like 15 kilometers from the beach, and a lot of people live directly at the beach. You can do anything and everything there, or in Fujairah on the other coast, which has incredible corals and loads of turtles. And yeah, it's really good.
Wow. And is it super expensive to live in the UAE? I think there's also that perception.
Yes, it can be. Um, a lot, obviously, like also stereotype. A lot of people go here to earn more money. Um, for change, I didn't. I went to see if I can be myself in a very different environment, and it's definitely also more expensive. Especially like I'm vegan. If I want to buy vegan yogurt, it's like 5 times as much as in Hamburg, for example. So you will spend more money as well. Obviously, there are also saving opportunities, but you also don't really have, like, if you're out of a job, you're out of a visa. There are nowadays a lot of different options, also freelance visas. So they're making it very interesting. And I have a lot of friends now who are actually self-employed or freelancing, and they have lots of opportunities to do that here. It's one of the topics where I'm still like understanding what are the options, because obviously gives you more freedom if you're not sponsored by someone else but can sponsor yourself. And then yeah, as a GCC resident, you can easily also travel in the surrounding countries, which have even more impressive nature. So yes, expensive, but you also earn more. So you want would probably want a job that can cover the expenses. Um, there's one change I have to say, however, because obviously in the service industry, people are paid normally very, very poorly. And they also can live here, because if you go to the roadside restaurants, you spend $1 on food, but that would also mean that you probably live somewhere out in the desert and share a room with 20 people. Um, so it exists, the different levels. There's a big scissor and gap between different income groups. And I think that's something that you have to be aware of, and also have compassion for, and not just take everything for granted in life.
Thank you very much for mentioning that because again, it's a side that people don't always see when they're on the
Yeah,
45th floor, like you said, but it's how a lot of societies right now are functioning, you know? So
yeah. And we can either decide to stay in our bubble or to be appreciative and just be also be kind to people. Just because you're in one doesn't mean you have more of a privilege. And also passports obviously play a role. I can be more, I have a strong passport, so I can be much more risk-feel. I'm less risk averse when it comes to making decisions, because I'm like, well, if it doesn't end up, I can always go back home. And for other people, that's just not the case, right? So I was very, very much confronted with my privilege here, and it's made me a kinder human and a more self-aware for, you know, the benefits and advantages I have just for being born in the right country into the right family. So
yeah. It's a
yeah,
thing that that digital nomads face too. Depending on where they're from, it could be so much harder. But everybody, I think, could say that they would love to work online and have more opportunities to do that just for more of their own
yeah,
time freedom and location
yes.
freedom.
And it's
Well,
not fair that just because of your passport, you cannot travel as freely as other people can. I feel personally.
yeah, no, I completely agree. It's like a lottery, you know, when you're born, and it shouldn't be that way. Uh, Well, there is something you did not mention when you were talking about nature and being outside, but you told us that you're outside a lot of the time. So we're now going to reveal this very interesting hobby that you picked up while you've been in Dubai. Can you tell us how you spend your free time and how you found this incredible hobby?
Yes, and I'm actually going tomorrow morning. So I ride and race camels. And like other people do horses, and that's a big thing here too, but I do it with camels, and I totally fell in love. It's been almost, no, it's been 10 months now that I've been doing it. I immediately when I arrived, I saw billboards which were advocating for keep the tradition alive, go on a caravan over 600 kilometers through the deserts of the UAE on camelback. And I was like, let me sign up. I love pilgrimages of any type. And I was like, great, I can learn more about Emirati culture. I can be outside. I can be with animals. This is fantastic. But I missed like the deadline 2 years in a row. Oh, last year I signed up. I didn't hear anything for 2 months. I was like, oh. But yeah, they called me in end of August and were like, yes, you can start training. Go there. You can go every day, either in the morning or in the evening. So September 1st last year, I started training 5 to 7 times a week, riding camels, getting to know everything about behavior and how to saddle them and how to ride them and how to manage, them in the desert environment. And I was then selected for this 600-kilometer caravan in October. Continued training, obviously. And I think on the 25th of December, we went out to the border of with Saudi Arabia, and then did about an average 40 kilometers a day, 7 hours on camelback, all the way back to Dubai. And I think we covered in the end 550 kilometers. Um, and yeah, there you had your own camel, and obviously that bond with the camel increased so much more. But and since then, I've been continuously riding. And winter is also racing season. So once we were selected, we had the option to do drag races, so to try out if we're any good or not, and have been competing since as a group. There's a male team and there is a female team. I think it's one of two in the UAE. In the official races of basically the different emirates, hence the different sheikhs, and having a lot of fun, but like adrenaline out of the roof.
Wow, I have so many questions. So this, you said you train like 5 to 7 times a day. Like, how long was each training session? And like, is there someone obviously who's there and they met you and they're taking you through everything? Yeah, let's start there.
Yes. So obviously now in the still summer break, so I would go now as I want. Like sometimes I cannot go at all, sometimes go 2 to 4 times a week. In the racing season, I go more often because the more you train, the more is the stamina. So, and racing is exhausting. But then for 5 to 7 times, I really wanted to go. So I needed to show what I want to do. And yes, they have people that work with the camels, which is one of the reasons. And they speak better Arabic than English. And this was one of the reasons where I was like, I have to jump back on my Arabic learning journey. So this is another good thing that came from it, that I'm back on like lessons twice a week, because I was like, I want to understand everything and communicate more and better. And these are people that grew up with camels or have been working with camels for a long time. It's a specific farm. So this whole event is part of the Emirati wish to keep their traditions alive, which they've been very, very active about since, I mean, it's only been 50 years that the country exists, and so many things, because all of the skyscrapers went up, got lost. Um, so they are keeping, I don't know, a lot of money aside every year to allow to do this. Everything in Dubai costs money. But this, I go train and work with the camels for free, like because they want us to understand. And they started only with Emiratis, and like 6 years ago they brought in expats because they're like, we want everyone to understand our traditions and to keep them alive, because one person by itself cannot. Um, so yeah, you would talk with a little bit of English, a little bit of Arabic, and like hand and foot. We're people from all over the world. I think on our trip we were 35 people, 16 nationalities, some from Middle Eastern countries, some from completely everywhere. And it's just such a wonderful group of people that's being led by this heritage center in the UAE. And they're putting a lot of work and effort and love and passion into keeping this alive and working with the animals in it.
Wow, I'm just so excited to hear there's something like this exists, first for the Emiratis to keep that tradition, like you said, and it seems like that they started doing that pretty early on when they saw these changes happening, and that they've opened it up to expats living there so you can, meet each other and blend these, cultures together, learn more
Yeah.
about each other. And yeah, like, is this something that happens every December, the first 600-kilometer trek that you were in?
Yeah. So basically, I think in February already people can, or in January already they can sign up. And we've had people start training in February this year. They trained also Ramadan. Then we have probably training sessions in the evening. Now there's a summer break at the moment, and then the new group of people is gonna be, yeah, it's gonna be either tested or every year they change and optimize things and improve them. But then at some point in October, November, it will be decided who can come with. And then, yeah, they even tailor clothes for you. So, because when we ride, we wear the traditional Emirati clothes. So men wear conduras and women wear jalabias. They're long dresses and they're all super colorful and it's just like traditional gear on the camels and it's just a really good experience. It's incredibly challenging. Don't get me wrong. Like I was physically, mentally, and emotionally exhausted, but I would go like we arrived back in Dubai. I would have gone again the next day, and I would still
Wow.
go again. It's
That was a question I had. Are you going to do it again, or once you're in, you can do it every year? Or, I know you
so
have training and stay fit for
yeah.
it.
The idea obviously is that as many people as possible can participate. Uh, but it definitely depends also if their space is free. And I know that people did it in the past multiple times for different reasons. Um, but yeah, if there's an option, I will do. But I definitely first want to give a chance to other people as long as I can weekly go like spend time with the camels and ride and cuddle with them and give them dates and just be outside, then I'm good. And if on top I'm allowed to continue racing, which seems to be the case at the moment, then fantastic. Because that's definitely a good learning experience. And then you're fully immersed in the Emirati culture because obviously they're in their 4x4 cars next to the racetrack and screaming and like running the horns to cheer on the camels. And they love that there is this female group of riders that are participating as well.
Yeah, this is incredible. I never knew that there was this this group of female riders that were also out there and racing as well. So also want to know, how did you get matched with your camel? First for the 600-kilometer journey, but then is it the same camel that you're still working with? Do you work with multiple camels when you're racing? How are you matched with it?
Um, it's so during the I think they told us the night before the trek started, which is the camel that we're matched with, because
Okay.
obviously 2 days before another camel injured itself and couldn't come in the beginning. And these kind of things happen all the time. A lot of the reasoning, honestly, I feel like I got the perfect camel for me. And even people that in the beginning were like, oh no, I wanted someone else, were like, no, no, no. This is what the universe told me. Like they knew how to match people. So the trainers, the CEO of the Heritage Center, the people that work with the camels, they decide, they have a group of people, and a lot of it is also based on weight, because obviously a younger camel and female camel would be able to carry less weight than an older male camel, and we're all different because we have well, there's differences. So this is the big thing. My heart's still very much connected with my camel, definitely that I had on the track. And why I loved him so much, I still love him so much, is because he was just the sweetest thing. And the thing I wanted most on that track is not to make new friends, and I did that as well, but is to have that connection and to be outside in nature and be so close to another living being, in this case, an animal. And this is what I got. So I was very happy. Racing as well depends which camels are available. So you don't know. Like I always ask on the race, like, who am I racing with? But it's so chaotic on the day that you really just like stick it through and you ask question after the race because everyone is super stressed to make it happen.
Okay. And wow, that's surprising that you just like would be given, but I guess you've ridden several of the camels. You do
Yeah.
know many of them now.
Yeah. And the idea is also the more you ride, the more diverse camels you ride, the better of a rider you become because you will be able to anticipate more behaviors. You will train your body to because every camel is different, right? So some camels that I find super uncomfortable, but I still ride them. Other people are like perfect, like it's like a sofa. But yeah, so it's good. It's trained you, and I've always put a lot of importance on being like every day, hey, which camel do I have I not ridden? Do I know the name? And to build connections with them all because they're all very, very different, but they're incredibly loving. I mean, they're like dogs. They've been with the human race for centuries and thousands of years. So they're incredibly affectionate once you start building the connection with them. So I don't want to be connected to just one camel. I want them all to get equally loved and yeah, to know me.
Yeah, that's incredible. I've only ridden a camel once, and I have to
Hmm.
say it's very uncomfortable. So whatever training I didn't get, I should have had. But yeah, what are some other, let's say, facts about camels or something that people would be surprised to hear? Because I was just surprised to hear that they're like dogs and you would form a very strong bond with them.
So I know from like I have friends in Oman as well that are Bedouin, and the camels they know their people by voice, and they just come even if they holler like kilometers away. Um, and they sleep next to them and they hug them and these kind of so there is this very very close they will protect them there's this very close bond. And I think the thing that for me was the biggest learning with camels is that they're very human. Like they have their moods like we do, and if they're in a bad mood there's nothing you can do about it, right? Same as with us. So it's a wonderful metaphor on how to work with humans, but you have a more direct feedback, right? So if you just treat them like a thing, they'll be like, I'm not doing what you want because, like, why would I? I don't know you. But if you start building that connection and also appreciate that yesterday was a less humid day, so they were all like super, you will have to pay more attention during that ride because they're all energies are high up in the air and they're more feisty. It's just what it is. So this is incredibly humbling. You cannot perfect riding a camel. And it's a very empathic journey that you're doing with them. And that is, I think, one of the reasons why I also love working with them so much.
I can imagine. I definitely need to ride another camel and get more
Come, come,
experience.
I'll take you.
Yes. About the races, how long
Yeah.
are the races that you participate in?
So the races that we do are between 1,000 meters and 3,000 meters. So they take maximum 4 minutes. And we gallop as much as the camel gallops because at some point it might stop running and it trots, which is the most uncomfortable way. Uh, but it is a very fast sport, and you're literally just on your saddle and you have to hold on. Um, there are longer races up to 8 kilometers or 11 kilometers. And there's also what a lot of people see also in the media is this camels with a robot on top. And they're always
Oh,
like, they don't have the people races anymore. But actually, these are the younger ones. They're starting with a year old up to maybe 3 years. They only race with the robots because they would not be able to hold the weight of an adult. And obviously, we don't want children to race right anymore. I mean, it happened in the past. No one wants that anymore. It's too dangerous. So the robot races are basically a way to prepare camels for having races with humans, adults at a later stage in their life. I think the earliest you can do is maybe 5, but their top racing time I think is when they're around 8 years old.
wow. So when you see the robots, you have to think they're being kind to these camels.
Yeah, yeah, and to children that are not racing them anymore, which was the thing in the past. And obviously, if you put a 6-year-old on a camel, like all kinds of things can happen. Um, but I think it's been decades that that practice has not been there anymore. But yes, there's robot races, but this is not the only thing that's happening. And obviously, oh no, I guess the excitement in the Emirati culture about both, it's just there. They're already good robot racing young camel. If they make it over puberty and they still race well, then they're going to be an excellent adult race camel. And obviously, that's reputation, and that might also be mean bigger
Yes, I had
prize
a question.
money.
What
Yeah.
is the, I mean, do you race always for prize money? And, what's the average prize that you might be able to win if you come in first?
So obviously we have practice races where we don't get money, and it makes sense because for you practice, camels practice. The official ones of the Emirates are held by the rulers of the Emirates, or the sheikhs, and there is big prize money to win. The races I've participated in, I think the winner gets 100,000 dirhams. That is rated before, so $25,000. Um, and you have multiple groups. So we only race against each other. So we have our male group only race between each other, and we only race between each other, and then they have different Emirati age groups that race against each other. So it's big money. And for each of these, if there's 11 races for each of those, you get 100,000 dirhams as the winner. And I think the first 10 get money. In our case, obviously, in the spirit of giving back, half of that goes back to the Heritage Center because, I mean, they bring the camels there, they take care of the camels, they are promoting that effort, and that's one of the incomes they have to keep up the amazing work that they do. But yes, the other part normally goes to you. Fortunately, I've never won yet. I'm always last, but I'm having a blast. So.
Oh, but hey, it's so incredible. Okay, I have to ask, have you ever fallen off of a camel, Stephanie?
Of course, I have.
Oh,
Of course, I have. I've also been stepped on, kicked, head bumped, kneed, and I've had bruises all over my body because on that track, like I have very sensitive skin. It's just everywhere I was sitting was open wounds, blisters, basically. Um, yeah, you fall off. You're being trained on how it's basically like judo. You try to make it like not fall directly on your back. We have protective clothing when we're training, like helmets, a little bit like horse racing. So we have the chest thing and then the helmets. But you do fall off of 2.5 meters. So yes, focus is the most important thing that you can do because you have to be aware of what is the camel, which is why I want to know all of them. How do they behave? What's unusual behavior for them, and what's happening around you? Because obviously we're not the only people that are training. Sometimes there are people that ride horses. Sometimes there are white gazelles. Sometimes there are foxes. Sometimes there are other camel groups that are being trained. So you need to know what's going on. In my case, I fell down, I got up back on the camel, and I went home, and then I cried a bit, and then I was okay.
I'm glad you were okay, but yeah, this sounds like a life lesson in general. Like you fall off and you get right back on and keep going.
Yeah, you just have to.
Yeah.
In my case, nothing happened, right? These if like things happen to people everywhere, whatever happens, and you don't feel good, and you think something is with your back, stay down, get help. Right. I was
Um,
okay.
Okay. Yeah, it's really nice to hear you have this like, you have to, I think, have that spirit of to be in, the 600-kilometer race. So if you're watching and you're really intrigued by this, keep that in mind. And that, we don't want to dissuade you from signing up or even trying to ride a camel a little bit more often. And maybe,
Please. Yeah.
yeah.
And please know that every country and every tribe has their own type of saddle. So riding in the Emirates would be very different from riding in the Oman or in Saudi Arabia. But if you're interested, again, the camel track is every year. You can just search for Dubai Camel Track and sign up if you hear. If you sign up, like you have to train every week, right? So either like commit and work here from a bit. Will be easier for
Come
you.
over as a remote worker, and figure out how you're going to do it. Or if you already live in Dubai, yeah, here's some motivation for you.
Yeah. Also, like you can also, I mean, most of the cities are like 1.5 hours away. So we had a lot of people that are actually living in other Emirates, other cities that came in and then trained 2 to 4 times a week.
Oh,
It can be
well,
done.
Stephanie, when I heard your story, I was just so blown away and also just, really appreciated how you wanted to get more into the culture where you were living and where you were often going to. And I think, if you have been working remotely, you're staying somewhere 3 months, 6 months, why not look for these things that will really allow you to know those cultures better and also push your own self, like get fit, do things like this. It's incredible.
I agree. I think if you just, and I think it's also a great incentive to maybe learn the local language. And I mean, we all have traveled like this, or if we're in our home countries and someone talks to us in our language, but we clearly see it's a struggle for them. For me, I'm so appreciative because I know it's hard to learn languages and it's hard to understand other cultures, and it's easy to stay in your bubble and with your group of friends. But this is how you broaden your horizon and you can experience the beauty of places where maybe, example, Dubai is a stereotype. You don't think that exists. This is also the mangroves in Ajman, which is like 40 minutes from my house, and you can kayak and see turtles popping up. And you're like, no one knows this about the Emirates. I want you to know. Come, I'll tour guide you all around.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing this. This is incredible. And yeah, what I've learned so much about Dubai and the Emirates that I never knew. And it's just great to hear that they're supporting women and, people can work together and, the state is supporting these kind of things.
Yeah, yeah. I feel very free, to a certain degree, probably freer than in Europe sometimes in terms of my self-expression. So LGBTQIA plus is the topic, but I mean, again, it's Dubai. Everything exists, whether it's legal or gray zone or not. But as a woman, I feel appreciated and free here. And I think this is also a lot of things that people don't know. But often you get extra special treatment. You get the shorter queues or the extra bathrooms or whatnot, which is something that other countries can definitely learn about. What I think.
Yeah, it's good to hear that. Well, is there anything else that you would like to share with us before you go?
Mm, keep an open mind. Explore the places that you live in. Think about that there might be things that you've not considered from the beginning. And definitely, definitely, definitely come and travel in the Middle East because the amount of nature and diversity here and the kindness of the people is something I would have never expected. And come September, I'll be back in with my hiking shoes every weekend up in wadis, finding the cutest tiny flowers and just talking to locals and being there. The soul of these countries is definitely not in the cities, it's in the desert and it's the mountains. So go explore.
On the back of camels.
Yes, that too.
Yeah. If people want to follow you, Stephanie, where can they go?
You can follow me on LinkedIn. I think it has my name here afterwards, and then reach out if you have any more questions about the camels or the yeah, or the company. Sorry, not the companies, the countries. Then I'm very happy to share all of the information. I love taking stereotypes away and broadening people's minds. So yeah, if you have any questions, reach out.
Oh, right. Thank you so much, Stephanie. Have a wonderful weekend, and I look forward to seeing some of these camel videos after your races.
My yes, and please come in and check them out yourself, especially if you come in the
Yes,
winter.
it's going to be incredible. Okay. Bye.
Hi.